Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have a book review of the book The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, the first book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. I have been told by so many people to read this series. My brother-in-law is a huge fan of this series, and one of my old bosses at my previous job at a bookstore, this was one of his favorite books of all time. So people told me I should read it because it's amazing, and I had put it off because British humor doesn't always work for me, and even satirical books don't even work for me. And so those are two, when you put the two together, I was very nervous that I would not enjoy this. And so I put it off for a while. I finally saw these editions of the books. I bought 4 of the 5 books in this edition, which I really like, at the used bookstore. And I really am excited to to read all of them. And it's a really short book. It's only about 200 pages. So I thought that's worth the try. And so I read this, and I read it in a day, and it was a delightful, delightful read. The first thing I'll say about the book is it is incredibly humorous and silly. There were a few times where I genuinely laughed out loud. There were a few times that I genuinely laughed out loud. For the most part, most of the jokes in the book just had a little thing where I was reading it and I just smiled. I went, like I just found it a delightful, humorous anecdote or line or something. But most of the book, that was what I had. But there were a few times where I genuinely laughed. So it was an entertaining read. I liked the characters, I liked the descriptions. It didn't entirely take the plot that I thought it would. And I think the one downside I have for the book is that I don't think that the plot was strong enough and the resolution wasn't strong enough. I know it's the first book in a series, but the plot just kind of ends. The book's just kind of over. And it doesn't provide the right answers, and it feels like there was something missing. And maybe the future books will do that, but that's how I felt reading this book. And it was entertaining throughout, from page 1 to page 215. At the beginning of the book, you have these really interesting themes about government power and about eminent domain, which is always an interesting topic to tackle. It reminded me the whole sequence where he's basically trying to defend his house from the bulldozers that are going to come and just tear it down. He's trying to defend his house, and all of a sudden, the guy says, "Well, it was on the billboard. It was back at the government building." And he's like, "How was I supposed to know that was there? How was I supposed to be aware of this?" And it kind of reminded me of the scene in the Batman where he says, "Didn't you get the memo?" I thought that was a great moment. And then there's also some themes that are similar to the Up movie from Pixar. Which is just a great movie, but so the eminent domain ideas, I think, are very similar, and about trying to build the passway. And then all of a sudden, when the aliens come and they're trying to turn Earth's space into an expressway, I just thought that was delightful and hilarious. So the themes about government power and overreach and about freedom and about eminent domain, I thought were all very fascinating stories. Fascinating themes. And so I liked all of that. I did not, I did like some of the characters, like Zaphod, I thought was fine. I thought that the Ford, and I'm blanking on his last name for a second, Ford Prefect, he was delightful when he would come up with a scenario to get them out of trouble. And once he starts doing that, you see our main character of Arthur Dent start coming up with similar types of plots, and he starts scheming and he starts doing things. And so I really liked seeing Arthur Dent picking up on what Ford was doing. And then you have Trisha Macmillan, also known as Trillian, which she was fine. She didn't add too much. I think she's going to add more in the future. And then you had Marvin the robot. Marvin the robot was hilarious. Those were the laugh out loud moments. His kind of melancholy, woe is me, everything's terrible personality was perfect in the book. And it was, I know several people like that, and it's just a funny way to portray that personality on a robot. And the fact that he's, talking about robot rights, and he's talking about how, oh, well, this is the only thing they use me for. They could use me for more, but they don't. Marvin was hilarious. So I really enjoyed some of those characters like that. They never explained how Zaphod was able to come to Earth and look like a human, which I still wonder about. But it was still entertaining. I still don't know what the heck this thing is on the cover, because it was nowhere in the book. Like, nothing in the book had to do with this character. Anyway, that's a digression. But overall, I really enjoyed the book. I think it's a delightful premise. I think that the characters are pretty good. I thought that the humor was well done, and I appreciated the humor, which good. I find book humor that I appreciate. And I thought that it was a nice quick read. I did it in a day. I did it in 4 sittings. I had 50 pages a day, or 50 pages a sitting. And I'd read 50 pages, then I'd go walk around and eat something. And then I'd read 50 pages, go walk around and play something, go play Mario. Read 50 pages, that type of thing. And I read it in a day, and it was a life. So I enjoyed the book. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. The one big problem is that the plot isn't properly resolved, and some of the characters were only mediocre instead of great. But other than that, very entertaining book that I really appreciate, and I understand why it's a classic. So if you've read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I know so many people have been commenting that they're excited to see this review, what did you think of the book? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. What did you think of the whole eminent domain thing? Leave all your thoughts on this book in the comments down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.